First Sunday of summer schedule post-flower communion. So, casual and relaxed atmosphere. It's Father's Day today. There is a table down front if you happen to bring any photographs of grandfathers, fathers, or men in your life. We'll be doing that in Candles of Joy is concerned. Or during Open-Pulpit, which is also today. So, also, in our summer schedule, we do have fans. There may be one in front of your hymn book holder in the pew. This was a new addition a couple of summers ago. So it's I'm going to set up a prelude here, just give me a second. So today's prelude is CanonInD, Pachelbel's Canon. And this is by a duet guitar and cello duet by Comellas and Rosalind Beall. looping our peak right now. I've been taking photographs. A couple are in this week's support page. And this morning, in the wet, tall grass, I put my rubber boots on and a pair of scissors and went out and clipped some fresh looping for today's service. And on the cover of today's bulletin, you'll see a small version, a tribute to the royal looping. This opening, a moment of centering silence is going to be, again, a contemplation on a flower, a natural, living example of a flower. Live in a manner where your heart opens naturally like a flower soaking up the sun early in the morning. It takes no effort. It takes no effort at all. By simply dropping the complexity of your own thinking, expectations, and desires, the natural unfolding of your inner nature occurs. Sometimes contemplation isn't thinking about something in an analytical sense. It is feeling or observing it in your own natural manner. So this morning, in our moment of centering silence, let us be mindful and alert, sitting like a natural flower in the field, soaking up the sun. We are here and now, sitting on this day and in this space. Randy, would you please light our chalice for us this morning? Several of the readings in today's service come from Lifting Our Voices, readings in the living tradition. And a chalice lighting this morning is number 111. May this flame we light remind us that every one of us can bring the light of love to the world. May this clear flame be a symbol that every heart can burn bright with joy, peace, and harmony. May the wisdom of the ages speak to us through this flame and stay in us. Every one of us can be a blessing to the world. Opening words are titled Salutation to the Dawn, which comes from the Book of Earth Prayers. Listen to the salutation to dawn. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all of the verities and realities of our existence, the bliss of growth, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow only a vision, but today well spent makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Such is the salutation to dawn. Amen. Let us sing. If you were here early enough, you heard Dale rehearsing as people were walking into today's worship service. This is number 331, Life is the Greatest Gift of All. Shall we stand as you are? this morning is number 648. And this reading is by poet Denise Leathercock, and it's titled Beginners. Number 648. But we have only begun to love the earth. We have only begun to imagine the fullness of life.
How could we tire of hope? So much is in love.
How can desire fail? We have only begun to imagine justice and mercy.
Only begun to envision how it might be to live with citizens with peace and flower, not as oppressors.
Surely a river cannot already be hastening into the sea of non-being.
Surely we cannot drag into the silt all that is innocent.
Not yet, not yet. There is too much broken that must be mended.
Too much hurt that we have done to each other.
We have only begun to know the power that is in us if we would join our solitudes in the communion of strife.
So much is unfolding that must please gesture. So much is love.
Sometimes I'm right, and I can be wrong.
Got to keep going. So I didn't play Canon this morning, but I meant the passing of Sly Stone. I found a member of Sly and the family Stone in the 1960s, just a flower and bright creative light for a generation and our nation. So this is a version of the song Everyday People. Came out in 1969, the album Stand, and this is by Playing for Change. And it was interesting, you'll see a lot of students. It's known as the Turnaround Arts Program. It was founded by the Committee on the Arts and Humanities, established by President Obama during his term. It's now run by the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, or at least it was earlier this summer. This video was created to inspire the idea that all children deserve access to the arts in school, and that the arts have the power to create change. Long live Sly. You'll recognize several of the instructors in this class, like Ken Moe, Forrest Whitaker, Yo-Yo Ma is in here, Paula Abdul, Jack Johnson. So this morning, we need an usher. We have a volunteer to circulate the plate this morning. Stephen, you have been selected. I have the plate down front.
Sometimes I'm right, and I can be wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. Butcher the bacon, drummer and him. Makes no difference what you found here. Sometimes I'm right, and I can be wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. The butcher, the baker, the drummer and him. Makes no difference what you found here.
fell off my panel. So how open mic works is to share a poem, a reading, a spontaneous observation, inspirational insight, something that's happened to you this week. The microphone is by the lectern, and please share. And when you're finished, we have the magic wand that was created by one of our members. You may recognize this. We've used it before. And when you're finished sharing, just to tap the singing bowl to give it a little lesson as we continue on with the shares. So we can take as much time as we need. It's a casual Sunday in June. So the microphone is open to share this morning. The wand will be right on the table.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So glad to be here. A couple of you might be surprised I'm here. I was having car troubles, and I considered putting a candle in the very crowded bowl to say, yes, my car has decided that it's only going to act up when it's wet. Don't know why. Still going to get it checked out, but it seems to be fine right now. So I wanted to share something this morning, which is, as a kinesthetic learner, I really appreciate real-life object lessons. I find them very helpful learning opportunities. I'm in the process of creating a cover illustration for my new book that's supposed to be published, I hope, next year. And I've had to figure out how to create a moonlit scene, which is really challenging because we're not very often out in the moonlight and noticing detail. And it's given me really challenging. It's caused me challenges, but it's also been a really good opportunity to think about the effects of light on darkness and the presence of light and darkness in the same space and how one reacts on the other. And so, not just in terms of Father's Day, but in terms of all the things that we're facing, individually and collectively. Maybe it's a helpful thing to be reminded, I know it is for me too, that light does affect darkness. It does make a difference. And that presents an opportunity for us to be the light. And also to not fear the darkness. At the same time, I borrowed an album from the library in Woodstock. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the band In Excess, kind of a huge Australian rock band. So you're probably familiar with the fact that Michael Hutchinson passed away in the 90s. And the band, instead of folding, said, okay, here are some opportunities to do something different. So they created a competition, found a new lead singer. But partway into all of those processes, they had a couple of different lead singers. They created an album, Original Sin, which is the one I borrowed. So this is the booklet from inside, it's not the cover. And I just thought it's a fabulous reimagining. It's a fabulous way of taking something really devastating that happened to the band and to all of their fans and creating something beautiful. So they have 12 guest artists, well it's more than 12 actually. Some of them, it's a couple of artists per track, who've created, worked with the songs, reimagined them, and put something beautiful together. That in a way is a beautiful tribute to Michael Hutchins, who was the principal lyricist. And this is the last, these are the lyrics for the last track on the album called The Stairs. In a room above a busy street, the echoes of a life, the fragments and the accidents, separated by incidents. Listened to by the walls, we share the same spaces. Repeated in the corridors, performing the same movements. Story to story, building to building, street to street. We pass each other on the stairs. Story to story, building to building, street to street, we pass each other on the stairs. Listened to by the walls, we share the same spaces, repeated in the corridors, performing the same movements. The nature of your tragedy is chained around your neck. Do you lead or are you led? Are you sure that you don't care? There are reasons here to give your life and follow in your way. The passion lives to keep the faith. Though all are different, all are great. Climbing as we fall, we dare to hold on to our fate and steal away our destiny to catch ourselves with quiet grace. Story to story, building to building, street to street, we pass each other on the stairs. Listened to by the walls, we share the same spaces, repeated in the corridors, performing the same movements. Story to story, building to building, street to street, we pass each other on the stairs. I've experienced quite a bit of loss recently, not people I was tremendously close to, and I'm just grateful for this because I guess it has given me a way to help deal with that. People like the lead singer of this band, who's tremendously charismatic. We've had some fathers mentioned today who were larger than life. But we all have light to shine. Not just the people who stand head and shoulders above everybody else or have a bigger platform.
Thank you.
So, what a picture today. One of my very, very, very favorite pictures of all time. This is me with my dad. He wanted a lobster roll. And it was right around Thanksgiving, and we said, let's go find you a lobster roll. So we drove down just past Belfast, and we got him a lobster roll, and afterwards we came out, and Rob took this picture of the two of us standing there with the ocean in the background. This was in November. He passed away in February. And so this picture just says so much. And I've been thinking a lot about my dad, because it's Father's Day, I guess, maybe, but also because I'm on this kind of spiritual journey and trying to figure out what the heck's going on for me. And I was thinking about Dad. I could tell a million stories. He was claustrophobic. He accidentally locked himself in the vault when we owned the restaurant. You know, like little things like that. But what I realized was that the moments that I remember most with my dad happened in the car. And they all have a connection to spirituality in some way, which kind of made me stop and think a little bit. My dad was a provider. My dad was up at 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and my mom had to yell at him not to mow the grass then. He worked hard, he came home from work, we ate dinner at 5 o'clock every night. He went back out in the yard or down in the basement and worked. And so I didn't spend a lot of time with my dad when I think back on things. Sunday afternoon he would watch football, and I hated football. When I was little, I was like, this is the worst thing ever. But I realized that if I wanted to spend time with my dad, I watched football, and I grew to love football. But the three times that I really remember with the car, kind of across 3 different times in my life. The first is on Christmas Eve when I was little, Dad and I would get in whatever giant boat of a station wagon we had, and we would drive about a half an hour to church. It's the only time either of us went to church. My mom and brother stayed home. And I don't remember the drive to church. I don't remember anything about the services, but what I remember is the drive home. It was past my bedtime, and it was back in the days when seatbelts were optional. I would take off the seatbelt, I would lay my head on his lap as we drove home. And I remember that so clearly. I have such a sense of being just embraced. And it's a touchstone for me, and it feels spiritual. The second memory that involved a car and spirituality with my dad was in my senior year of college. I was a religion major, and even though I didn't have deep belief myself, I was thinking about going to divinity school and wanted to go to the University of Chicago. And so we needed to check it out, so Dad and I got in a slightly smaller car and drove out to Chicago together. And just that time at that point in my life with my dad, by myself, kind of the center of his attention and he of mine, I remember that so incredibly well. And I realized on that trip that I didn't want to be far away from my dad. So I didn't go to divinity school. I went to library school instead. And one of the moments in that trip, we got lost trying to get on the Eisenhower on Cicero Avenue. If you're familiar with Chicago, this is not the best neighborhood to get lost in. And we were frantically turning around to try to get back out onto Cicero Avenue. And a woman walked up to the car and propositioned my dad while I was sitting there. And he stomped on the gas so hard, we flew out of the Cicero onto the Eisenhower, and we laughed until we cried for the next half hour. Probably not the most spiritual thing, but again, that connection and memories around that. And then the last one really is deeply spiritual. In 2020, I ran for the Maine House in District 144, which at that point was from basically the B Road all the way south to the Washington County line, over to Molunkus, places I had never been in my entire life. And my dad was my constant companion on that trip, during those trips, out talking to people as part of my campaign. My brother had passed away in August, so sort of in the middle of all of this. And my dad knew that he was dying. He had cirrhosis. And we had the most frank conversations. I learned so much about my dad and about love. And I cherish that time I had with him. It's really changed the way that I think about things, about life and death, and I'm glad for that. And I feel him with me on this journey. So I don't think, maybe there'll be a fourth chapter with my dad and informing me, or fifth or sixth on this journey, but I really felt moved to talk about him today and talk about that spiritual connection that I've had, because I think that I've had a lot of those through my life and maybe just didn't recognize them. So thank you very much. I need to dig the bowl, right?
There's more than just the bowl singing. I want to remember one of my colleagues. As you all know, I came here from Minnesota, and for 5 years I was a legislative liaison in my department for bills. So I know Melissa Hartman, and she was an incredible fighter. And I know Senator John Hoffman, you could not have a stronger advocate in each one of them. So my prayers for them, for the family of Melissa, and my prayers and hope that John and Yvette will pull through. And I just wanted to quickly read something that I think, it seems poignant today on Father's Day, but for two of these people who, I'm old-fashioned, but I believe in public service. And it pains me, no matter if it's someone on the far left or the far right, that just has nothing but horrible things to say about government and people in government. And both Melissa and John were true public servants, doing public service. And I want to just quickly read. To Be of Use by Marge Piercy. The people I love the best jump into work headfirst, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes, almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves as an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire must be put out. The work of the world is common. It's common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well, the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amorphous for wine or oil. Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry and a person for work that is real.
be a puppy dog running around on here. Excuse me. Was really heartened yesterday to see a bunch of my friends sending me photos of themselves at the protests. And I have been sending them photos of me at protests for months, and finally to see them out there, I was like, yes. So I wrote this poem after my first protest, the Women's Day protest in Presque Isle during a horrible blizzard. So I'm gonna just read it real quick. Thanks, puppy. I resist. It's not about fighting, not about fists. It's not checking boxes or making lists. It's not the flying of flags or the posts on your page. Not the feelings of hatred or emotions of rage. It's not the signs in your yard or the stickers on your car or the t-shirt you wear or the color of your skin or your hair. I resist, because if I do not, we all cease to exist. Resistance is kindness in planting a seed, a smile or a hand to someone in need. Tiny actions of little consequence, all tied together and lined up on the fence. Like a talisman warding away evil, indeed, we don't know just what we can grow until we plant our seeds. Like ripples in time, things could look so different one day if only we divine to make it so. Buddha says life is a struggle, the only way out is to help your fellow, so why are we tearing him down? Why are we letting her drown? We are your neighbors, your children, your friends, and we've seen this before and we know how this ends. Nothing survives a world made of hate. What directions are you following to those pearly gates? This is not the way. We are screaming and gasping and calling for reason, but you want our heads on a platter for treason. All we want is to stand by your side and ask you what's wrong. I don't care about pride. If we can't work together, we all fail. I resist, because resistance is strength, building a muscle in size and in length just to reach you. A soul transcends, it knows no gender or race or split ends. We are all the same. But they want you to forget. They want you to harm us and have no regret. They want the power, and they know. If you're looking at us, their transgressions won't show. United we stand, divided we fall. Have you forgotten? Our founding fathers gave us their all. That flag you're flying has history, you see, that thing you're trying to erase from memory. The Constitution for which that flag once stood, it was not perfect, but maybe we could make it better. Instead of tearing it down, burning everything we love to the ground. I resist. Even when it's tough, even knowing my words are not enough, not truth or fact or loss of our liberty, what will it take to make you see that we are all the same? We share 2 feet, a heart and a brain, so why don't we care when others feel pain? Because we're born in different lands, literally a line drawn in the sand, impermanent, irrelevant. Lines do not define us, not the lines in the sand or the lines on our faces. Where would you be if you had to switch places? No more backyard barbecues, only survival. Living at the wrong end of a rifle. You cannot imagine the suffering you fear. For generations, things have been different over here. Because long ago, people died for your freedom, but now those amendments, we don't need them. I resist. And there truly is enough. If these billionaires would just give some of it up, they are the ones keeping you poor. But you look at me fighting for my rights and call me a whore. We are their fodder, just the means to their ends, numbers and data and nobody's friends. Humanity has been reduced to algorithms and trends. But they don't know us as well as that computer suggests. They would not survive a spring here at best. Generations thriving in this remote region, living off the land with every new season. We are the people who inspired the greats, Thoreau and Emerson and King of late. This is not a feat accomplished alone. We rely on each other even after we're grown. We were not designed to do life on our own. I resist by not spreading hatred or fear and doing my best by all of you here. You can tell me I'm wrong, but I will plant my seed. I'll water and trim it and pull up its weeds. I'll see it through winters and floods and fires, a symbol of dreams to which we all aspire. And one day soon, when that tree provides shade, I'll join you there with a glass of lemonade.
Dave's message said to bring something to share or bring something for Father's Day, so I did both. And it was really for Father's Day, and I'm realizing some of the things I've heard here that it may equally be about my long affiliation with really fierce women. I came to the United States. My ticket to get into the United States came in 1982. I landed a job to be publisher and editor. I was 27 years old. Of Northeast Horseman, a small magazine published in the Bangor area that covered horse things and horse events in New England. And the day I arrived at the office, on the desk was a fat envelope. You know when they used to pack photos with cardboard and everything, and a bunch of photographs were in it. And they were amazing to me. And the photographer's name was Dodo Knight. Dodo was what her father called her, so she kept it as her professional name. And the photos were amazing. I'll tell you a little bit about why. But I called her, and she tore a piece of hide off of me. Those are my stocked in trade. They've been off my desk for 2 months. I've been trying to get them returned, and I listened to all of this, and I finally said, I really want one of the photos for our cover. Well, why didn't you say so? And it started, she just was one of the most powerful and most interesting people in my life. And when we would have a cover to shoot or a client wanting to do business with us, I would often say, Dodo, they need photos, you go out, they'll come back. And so she supplied us with photos, and I helped supply her with jobs. But horse photography, still today, but then had a pattern. You posed a horse to show its perfect build, or you took pictures until you got just the right action. And Dodo and others like her, but this was the gal from Maine, came along and said, no, these horses are romantic, emotional, beautiful animals. Let's capture that, because if there's 100 pages of ads in a magazine, they'll all look the same unless we photograph what everybody loves about them. And so this is a photo. I'm going to show you. This is the magazine from the 80s. Became Show Horse Magazine. This is Dodo's cover. Rumbrook Farm in New Hampshire was going to have a big spread in our magazine, and I sent Dodo. And by the way, when you sent, I'm going to pass it around. Sorry, my fingers are in the way. When I sent Dodo, a pattern evolved. At first, it alarmed me. I would get a call after she left and said, don't ever send that woman to our farm again. We're miserable. We had to get our staff up at 4. We had to have the horses groomed at 4 in case the sun shone just right. And when it didn't, she wouldn't take photos. And about 10 days later, and that time you used to get contact sheets. There'd be a dozen little thumbnails on a sheet. My phone would ring again. Oh, we love her. Oh my gosh, the photos are so gorgeous. And this was a pattern throughout the 80s where we worked together. I'm going to pass this around, and it's an example of what happened that changed horse photography. The horse is named Serenity March Time, big deal show horse, big deal breeding stallion. And you'll see in the photo, in order to get the effect, you had to blacken the inside of a barn or a building. Stand the horse in the doorway with a black background, hope the sun hit just the right places, and this is before Photoshop, and so you've got a horse standing in pitch blackness. And in order to do this, now I want you to imagine, this horse was loose. So you were depending on him standing in one place, and if you could see her photos, down low there were probably 4 people hanging on, touching his front legs, hoping he didn't bolt or anything. And the grooms that day said, can we fix his foretop? Because horses had to be groomed to be pretty, and there's dirt on his nose. And Dodo was like, get out. And that photo, I had a little girl say to me, a young girl, girls love horses, say, that dirt on his nose, I just wanted to reach out and rub it off. That photo struck emotions. And today, when you see a picture of Serenity March Time in an article or something, that's the photo. So anyway, in 1989, I was between jobs. That's a way of saying I was broke and unemployed. But I had riding students around the state of Maine, and I brought Dodo with me to a rustic county. And part of her business was she took photos, stock photos, and sold them to calendar companies and textbook companies and so on. So she took photos wherever we were going. Some of you may remember Dr. Sims up in Presque Isle. He had draft horses, and and she took pictures that they looked like they were coming out of the ether. They came up over a hill and there was mist every place, and they were all over calendars that year. So while she was in Aroostook County, we spent a night at my parents' farm, horse farm in Woodstock, and as a result, we have this portrait of my dad, and you can imagine it hangs every place in our homes. But Dodo, being Dodo, while we were getting this portrait, sudden storm clouds came up. I mean, the skies just turned black, and any sane person would have headed for cover, and Dodo said, "Don't move." And she got down on her, down flat in the grass, laying in the grass. The horse was up on the hill, my dad on the horse, and she said, "Now walk slowly toward me." And honestly, it was just the clouds were about to burst. And so we have this of my father as well. And both of these hang in most of our homes. So anyway, that's my little tale for Father's Day, and about a really great photographer from here in Maine who changed how, I know it's a small world, but changed how horses were photographed. Oops, that was
my great appreciation for this open mic service. I think some of the profound, deep things, and the horses I just love. This is a complete change of pace. In the book, 3rd chapter of Ecclesiastes, the writer says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to weep and a time to laugh." So here's a little bit of corny humor to hopefully brighten some of these dark times. A priest, a minister, and a rabbi go into a bar. The bartender asks, "Is this a joke?" A priest, a minister, and a rabbit go into a blood bank. The rabbit says, "I'm a typo." A hunter was deep in the woods, and he came face to face with a ferocious bear. "Oh, dear God, please make this be a Christian bear." Whereupon the bear bowed his head and prayed, "Dear Lord, for the food I am about to receive, I truly thank thee." A minister was driving erratically and was stopped by a policeman. "Have you been drinking?" asked the officer. "Just water," said the minister. "Well," said the policeman, "what's that bottle of wine doing on your front seat?" The minister raised his hand and said, "Praise Jesus, he's done it again." A large church needed to be painted badly, so the board hired a local painter. Well, this painter was a bit unethical, and he thought, "I can make a lot of money on this job if I water down all the paint." So he watered it all down. And he was up on a metal ladder one day, about half done with the job, when a terrible thunderstorm came along. The deluge washed away all the paint, exposing his scam. But even worse than that, the lightning bolts were getting closer and closer to him on this metal ladder. "Oh God, what should I do?" he said. A booming voice came from the heavens and said, "Repaint, repaint, and thin no more." One more. A church staff all received raises. The minister received a $5,000 raise, the secretary a $3,000 raise, but the organist received a $10,000 raise. The other two said, "How come you got so much more than we did?" She said, "Because there's no business like show business." And remember, sometimes a little laughter or even just a chuckle is the medicine that's needed at the moment.
Thank you, Dale. I think that's a good way to wrap up today's meeting. Mike, on a high note, the organist. The chalice is extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds, in the hearts, and the souls of each of us. Let us carry the flame with us and share it with those we know, with those we love, and most especially with those we have not yet met. Thus concludes our service for today.
We want to thank everybody for tuning in today. If you'd like to show your support, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and help us out by sharing this message by clicking the share button. If you'd like to make a monetary donation to you, Church Houlton, there is a link to our online donations in the video description down below. And again, thank you so much and have a blessed day.